My comp for you would be like a Mike Glennon, Brock Osweiler, kind of in that out of college.
Yeah, you're
Just
such
in
an
like
asshole.
skin complexion with Mike Glennon.
Yeah.
Both fair skin
Really
people,
pasty and
light
white.
hair.
Yeah, really pasty and white. Yes. Oh, yeah. What's up, Chris Simms Unbuttoned? Yes, and that voice you heard was of the asshole, Ahmed Fareed. What an asshole he is. It's all right. Good times, good fun. It's back. We're back with another AMA. It's a chance to make Ahmed uncomfortable, so I'm excited about that.
I thought that was a compliment. I mean, Mike Glennon made several good plays in his career. So did Brock Osweiler. And so I thought that comp was a compliment to you. I didn't know that you would take it that way, Chris.
Well, I mean, they had better careers than me. So who the hell am I to talk, right? I mean, I just wish you viewed me in a different light. I wish you were you viewed me as somebody better. But no,
Well,
either way, it's all good. And they made a whole lot of money. I certainly would take their damn cash. I'll tell you that much.
You're right, Chris. We're back with an AMA, and I love it because the homies out there did it again. Like over 100 questions when you posed the question to everyone to send in an AMA question to you. So that's what's going. And I don't know about you, but you know, I've really, and you've been able to work with PFT and Mike Florio. Like doing this podcast has been helpful for me and hopefully for a lot of people out there listening, because otherwise I'm just scrolling through Twitter, looking at the latest updates on what's going on around the world. And it brings you down. I mean, clearly this is a tough time for a lot of people out there. And just me personally, like this hour that I spend with you is super important. I've really enjoyed it, Chris.
Yeah, oh, thanks, man. Me too. I mean, the feeling is mutual. Ditto there all the way. And it's good to be doing this, what I've been doing with PFT. It does take your mind off things. We've gotten very positive reaction from people really all across the nation and even, in the UK, with people just being excited to have something to take away. And, with this podcast, hey, we're going to hit all football, be funny, talk about a few different crazy things in life, whatever it may be. But I'm with you. I was just sitting there finishing my breakfast in the wormhole of news, and you get frustrated. One, yeah, you start to stress out about what's going on. You start to think about how's it going to affect your life, your family. You start to look at certain leadership around the country and the world where you just go, have they lived under a rock and did not realize this was coming? Specifically, the governor of Georgia, I think he's been under a rock for the last 2 months. He just realized that asymptomatic people can pass the virus away.
It's frustrating. There are a lot of things that are frustrating out there, but doing this and getting all the questions. And so if you guys are listeners out there and have followed the show for a while, and you thank you for the questions and reach out and say hi to me or Chris. I know I'll enjoy that and something to take my mind off everything else. And I think the one cool thing, Chris, about this whole, when it's all said and done and we're at a better side of this whole thing, is that when people remember back to these couple months, one of the images that will stick out in their mind is you sitting in front of a fireplace with the two lights to the side of your head and the double doors there in your Connecticut home.
You.
I mean, that's iconic at this point.
Thank you. Yeah, maybe NBC will tell me to stop coming in the office, and they'll just say, no, we like it with the beams on top and everything. Just stay home. We don't want you here anymore. But,
people
why
fell
we're on
in love
note,
with that shot.
When we're on the note with this, just real quick, too, just to hit some news, like yes. Robert Kraft, like what an unbelievable job by him sending the Patriots plane over to China to get over 1 million, masks for our country and medical use and everything like that. Like, got to give him a shout out. Big time credit to Mr. Kraft for getting that done.
All right, let's get to it. Chris, you ready? Let's bear down.
Let's do it.
So we have so many questions on a lot of different topics, some quarterback talk. People wanted to talk about hygiene, the very controversial takes that you had last time when you talked about some of the things that maybe you are or are not into. Maybe we will not get into that because it made me uncomfortable last time. But let's start with the reaction by the homies, by the homies to your top 5 wide receiver rankings. If you missed it, here were Chris's ranks. When you talked with Paul Burmeister on Tuesday, you had, going from the bottom up, you had T. Higgins from Clemson at 5. You had KJ Hamler from Penn State at 4. Henry Ruggs from Alabama at 3. Justin Jefferson from LSU at 2, who you like a whole lot. And I almost thought, the way you talked about him, he'd be your number 1. But you got CeeDee Lamb from Oklahoma as your number 1. controversially, you left off Jerry Jeudy from Alabama, who a lot of people have as the top receiver in this draft class. You said he would have been 6 if your rankings went all the way down that far. So Cameron Johnson, the first one, says Jeudy plays like Stefon Diggs, and Diggs is not physically dominant or explosive either. And he's been a pretty good pro. So what do you think about that comparison to Diggs and Jeudy? And maybe you're missing some of the things that have made Stefon Diggs such a great player in the NFL.
Well, I get that. That's fair. I mean, I understand what they're saying. I mean, there are some similarities there. I would argue that Stefon Diggs has better quickness and better long speed than Jerry Jeudy that way, at least on the football field. I mean, Diggs was one of those guys that I came away when he came out in the draft, whatever that was, four or 5 years ago now. I can't even remember, where I went, ooh, I mean, if this guy had a good team and a quarterback and an offense around him, it would have been a whole different story. He wouldn't have been a 4th-round pick or anything like that. And again, I just want to make this clear because there's a lot to like about Jeudy. I like Jeudy. This is, again, I just want to make it clear. To me, yes, I would not risk a top 20 pick on a guy like Jerry Jeudy. That's my biggest thing. If he went in the first round, somewhere between 21 and 32, Ahmed, I'm going to go, yeah, that's fine. I get it. I understand there's plenty positives to justify that pick there. What I'm saying is top 20 pick, top 12, top 14 pick. To me, that's just too high for a guy like Jerry Jeudy. First of all, I'm big into physically elite traits. All right, I am. And I don't think that Jerry Jeudy has a ton of them. So it's not that I don't think he can be an effective player. I just don't think he can be that guy. Like in the top 20, Ahmed, I'm looking for a guy who, yes, can work the slot and do all kinds of different things for the receiver position. But ultimately, at some point, if you're a top 20 pick, I need to be able to just, if there's a game where I just go, I got to line you out left all game long, and you have to beat their best corner, then you have to be able to be that guy. And I don't know if Jerry Jeudy is that guy. Again, we've been fed this narrative, and I hope anybody out there can appreciate me and what I've been doing on my podcast for the last few years, because we get fed by narratives by people a lot of the times who just don't know what the hell they're talking about. Like, sports highlight anchors who just start saying Jerry Jeudy is the best receiver in the draft. And I want to go, well, you've never studied football or know nothing about it. So don't make statements like that. Just say he's really good, and you'll be interested to see where he goes in the draft. But that narrative has been fed to us, just like Tua is the most slam dunk, draft pick we've ever seen in the history of our life. And I'm just trying to set the narrative straight a little bit, or at least give some honesty there. That's just my take on it. I like Jeudy.
Yeah.
I really do. I just don't think he's as elite as the other guys that I have in front of him.
I think it is interesting the amount of groupthink that's in any sport around the draft or maybe even free agent rankings. The thing is that you look back at any draft and it never goes, the first wide receiver taken turned out to be the best. The second was the second best. I mean, that never happens, right?
No,
clearly,
it does not. You're
that's
right.
not the way. So for all the rankings to be identical, just doesn't reflect reality.
No, I think a lot of people are just lazy and just rank what they saw somebody else rank, and that's the way they go. And, at least for me, hey, I'm not saying I'm right. And if I'm wrong and Jerry Judy's kicking ass, you know me well enough to know by now, I will admit I'm wrong and tell you where I was wrong. I don't care about that. I don't expect to get every evaluation right. But I know I've seen top-tier NFL receivers my whole life and been around a lot of these NFL guys, and I know what also systems and things can do to make guys successful and make them look better. And that's all I'm trying to give some knowledge to. And, I saw a text here while we were doing the middle of this, like Pete Dimolitolitis wanted to go, well, Jefferson doesn't win on the outside a lot either.
Yeah, well, that was a question from Ollie here, too. He said, and he was playing lawyer here a little bit. He goes, how do you critique Jeudy by saying he's not a guy that you can just line up on the outside and say beat the best man-to-man corners in the NFL, but then praise Jefferson? You said you don't always have to be that guy who wins consistently on the outside. First,
I know.
Did you say that? And second, how do you defend yourself?
Well, what is he saying? I said, what's that?
That Jefferson has the same problems on the outside that he doesn't necessarily consistently win on the outside.
No, he doesn't have the same problems. He does not have the same problems. I'm sorry. I mean, we showed a highlight package today on PFT of Jefferson just beating one guy after another on the outside for long passes. Or when he goes deep from the slot, he ends up on the outside a lot of times and ends up as an outside receiver. But the point is, yes, okay, I understand what they're saying. Yeah, Jefferson's not the guy. Like, he's not Odell Beckham Jr. or Antonio Brown where you just say, go out there, you got 2 rockets up your ass, and nobody will be able to cover you. No, I understand that. But the other element that Jefferson has that's way better than Jerry Jeudy is his size, his physicality, and his hands. And that helps him win on the outside a lot too, let alone I think he's better at all the slot things that Jerry Jeudy does. All right, so that's the biggest thing. He's more of a physical presence over the middle. He does more after the catch. He breaks more tackles. He makes more catches in traffic. All of those things. It's not a negative necessarily on Jerry Jeudy. I'm just telling you that Justin Jefferson is a guy that can do it all, and he's really good in the slot, and he showed it in a Michael Thomas type offense because this LSU ran the Saints offense, but there's plenty of outside beating guys one-on-one. Also, Jefferson on a week-to-week basis was the go-to guy, the number one target. Everybody knew they were going to throw to Justin Jefferson as the number one guy. At Alabama, you couldn't say that about Jerry Jeudy always. I mean, listen, Paul said this at Tuesday, okay? And I've heard this from a number of people in the NFL too, and I wrote this in my notes. You got to take into account at times Jerry Jeudy was, and I'm not saying this is like 100%, but I'm just telling you about the talent that was around him. There's times he's on the field where I think myself and other NFL evaluators looked at it and said, he might be the 4th best receiver on the field right now on his offense.
Wow.
Because, and it's not a knock. It still means he's a great pro, but he got some favorable matchups. He didn't get keyed on all the time like a Justin Jefferson did, where you just go, ooh, they're going to give it to him here. It's 3rd and 8. They're going to work him over the middle. No, they could have worked. Alabama could have worked Ruggs or 17 Waddle or 6 the Super Freak or anybody else. So that's all I'm trying to say. Again, I really like Jerry Jeudy. This is the worst part about my job. I met him at the Super Bowl. He's a great kid. I know he's going to be a really good pro. But to rank the top 5 receivers, I just think those 5 have more elite physical traits than he does. I think he needs a little bit of a system and an offense that really knows how to use a route runner to really exemplify his strengths, okay? And where those other guys, I'm saying they don't need as much as a system. They can get it done with their ability and their size and their physicalness and their speed.
So let me throw this at you that came from a lot of people out there, but we'll read the one from David Holdman that said, did Jerry Rice have elite physical gifts? There's a lot of people that say Jeudy is in that Rice mold, who just is a student of the position, does everything well, maybe nothing elite, but can be kind of like a guy like Jerry Rice. Did Jerry have elite physical gifts, Chris?
No, yes, he did. Jerry is, not to like Randy Moss or T.O., and I know that's what they're saying. And listen, maybe Jerry Jeudy can be that guy. Jerry Rice is a bigger human being than Jerry Jeudy, all right? I mean, I met Jerry Rice when I was 8 years old. I've seen Jerry Jeudy. Jerry Judy's a little thinner that way. I do think Jerry Rice on the football field, yes, has more speed and ability to even use a little more physicality than a Jerry Jeudy. I do, yeah. Jerry Rice, listen, I can go back to 1986 and show you, his rookie year of him catching slants and splitting defenses in the NFL and running for 70, 80 yards with guys that have an angle on them. Jerry Jeudy, I see some of those plays, but more times than not, it's because the Red Sea parted and there's just, he just happened to be the right guy in the right place at the right time. So I just think, it's a valid point. I understand what they're saying, but I'm not going to quite go to Jerry Jeudy, Jerry Rice comparisons quite yet. Jerry Rice can win on the outside and run go routes on people in his prime and run by people all the time. I'll take you to the 1988 Week 2 Giants 49ers. He runs right by the Giants, who have one of the best defenses in football, and Joe Montana throws him a bomb for an 80-yard touchdown, and they win the game. He could do that on the regular basis. I don't even know what Jerry Rice's 40 was, coming out. But Jerry Rice's movement in and out of breaks was elite and better than Jerry Jeudy's is right now, for sure. So that's all I'm saying, but that's a valid question. I understand that.
And seeing
I hate
Jerry
this part
Rice,
of my job, man.
In seeing Jerry Rice warm up on the field in a suit before every 49ers games, I feel like he still feels like he could beat people on the outside. He feels like he still
Yeah.
has that ability.
Yes. Yeah. I mean, yes. And remember, in his day and age, Jerry Rice, the slot receiver wasn't a thing yet. So there was only two receivers on the field most times. They weren't working the slot. Jerry Rice was winning on the outside. They didn't have Wes Welker in 1988 or 1991. That wasn't
Good
going
point.
on in the NFL yet. So, that's another point I would add to that conversation. Again, I really like Jerry Jeudy. And I'm sorry, and I don't mean to. I'm not trying to be a hater. I'm just trying to be honest. And I wouldn't be shocked if he went to a team next year and had 80 catches and 1,000 yards. I wouldn't. All I'm saying is you're not going to get physically elite, explosive plays from him. I don't think, at least, and maybe I'm wrong. We'll see.
Yeah, and you still think he's, first round guy, end of the first round, top of the second round at worst. I mean, Stefon
Right.
Diggs was a guy that was taken in the fifth round. So you're not
Right.
putting him even close to that territory.
No.
Dave writes in, trying to get Jeudy to slide to 13 for your boy Kyle. Genius. Oh, is that what you're trying to do here, Chris? Oh, I
Yeah.
get it.
No. Yeah. No. I'm not. I don't know. I think Kyle has that kind of guy on his roster a little bit already. So I don't know if he would look for that. I am interested to know if Kyle is thinking about a receiver at 13. I mean, or 31. I think that's a very real possibility. I don't think there's any doubt about that. I think in my heart of hearts, though, I would think that Jerry Jeudy is not Kyle's type of guy. And listen, the other thing too here, no, I don't think anybody's gonna have to slide to 13. It's gonna be interesting. You really look at the draft and you go, okay, who in the top 10 is gonna take a wide receiver? And I don't know if you have it in front of you right now, but I don't know if there's
Yeah.
a team there you got to really worry about taking a receiver in top 10. The first team I look at to go, ooh, watch out, they're going to take a receiver, it would be the Jets at 11. And then you have the Raiders at 12, who could very easily
Yeah.
be in that conversation as well. So maybe
Yeah,
that's where the run starts. That'll be interesting.
yeah. Let's do the Raiders because that comes from Shenanigans. Do the Raiders take two receivers in the first round? If so, which two? Please tell me CD Lamb. So the Raiders have those two picks. Where are they right now? The Raiders are pick 12 and pick 19. That's the one they got from the Bears last year for the Khalil Mack trade. So what do you think? Do you think it's a possibility that they not only take one, but two?
I think that I wouldn't say both in the first round. I think they could take one for sure with one of those two picks. It wouldn't be shocked if they came back in the second round and maybe took another receiver. I don't think they're going to use two top 20 picks on the same position for a team that has a lot of holes. And, I hear our guy there. He's hoping CD Lamb. Yeah, I hear you. CD Lamb he's the best receiver in this draft. There's no weakness to CD Lamb. His stats should even be better. He was a go-to guy all the time. He's a human highlight film. I would think Gruden likes him. I feel like he's kind of a can't-miss prospect. Now, I will say, I do think Gruden would really know how to utilize a guy like Jerry Jeudy. That would be one of those teams where I'd go, Gruden understands how to use those type of players. But I would also say to the Raiders and go, I think the Raiders need a physically elite guy first, and then you look for the route running type second. The one thing they have right now is I feel like they got, a lot of the route running type, we can get 5 and 6 and 8 yards with this receiver. They don't have a home run hitter. That's their issue right now. And that's what they lost when Antonio Brown did all that crap. But I would think, Jerry Jeudy would not be enough of a home run hitter for Jon Gruden at number 12 for him to take him.
There's one more wide receiver type question that I want to throw at you because it's an interesting conversation.
And one thing too. I just think Gruden, in my heart of hearts, I don't know this. I would think Gruden likes CD Lamb. I would, just being around him and having lots of conversations about wide receivers in my day. Also, I would think Justin Jefferson would be to his likings too. Again, he's gotten to see him in an offense that's similar to Gruden. Gruden runs the Sean Payton offense. That's what they do. And that's what LSU ran. And of course, Justin Jefferson got to run kind of that Michael Thomas position for them. And I would think he looks at him too and goes, ooh, there's value there too. So it'll be interesting. And I wouldn't be shocked if they went Henry Ruggs either, if they want an explosive guy to take the top off and really stress out defenses.
Yeah, there's going to be a really good receiver there at 12. If you say maybe that's the first receiver taken, too, at 12, and then there's going to be a really good receiver there at 19. So they could do that, which means they'll probably take no wide receivers in the first round. They'll go completely off the board. One more wide receiver question. This one comes from Irreverent Dan. He says, can you point to a raw prospect that went from a poor route runner to a great route runner as a pro? He says he doesn't disagree. He's just curious. And you did talk about route running, and I think it's a really interesting conversation where you say, don't take their college film of them being a poor route runner and say they can't learn that at the next level. It doesn't mean that they're going to learn it or they're going to become a good route runner. They still might not, but you just have to give them more of an incomplete, an I, than a D, a failing grade. So can you think of any wide receiver prospect out there that you're like, you saw his tape in college, you go, man, he doesn't know what he's doing, and then he really was disciplined and well schooled by a good wide receiver coach or something out there?
Well, I think, okay, so first off, with the route running, to your point, to what you're saying, yes, you can become a better route runner, right? As you get in the NFL and get around other professional receivers and a wide receiver coach, and they start to stay on your ass all the time about the techniques of running routes, you can become better. Now, does that instantly make you going to be like, oh, you're going to be Amari Cooper or Julian Edelman good? No, not necessarily. You're going to have limitations there. Okay, so there is that. And then you've also heard me about, the route running thing being a little bit overrated at times. Really good offensive coaches don't make their really good receivers run routes that they're not really good at running. There's a reason you don't see Julio Jones running like post corner post or corner post corner or things like that because he's big and he's not necessarily made to do that. So all right. So first off, the one that came to my mind right off the bat was Terrell Owens. Terrell Owens, I can remember when he came out, was a totally raw, has no clue how to run a route. It's just physical ability, and that's all he did. He became a pretty damn good route runner by about the third or fourth year into his career, and that was through hard work, okay? DJ Moore, the guy, first-round pick from the Carolina Panthers, I would tell you his route running was underwhelming at Maryland, but I saw the elite physical traits. He was a guy I could see catch a screen behind the line of scrimmage, and all of a sudden, zoom, he's gone for 70 yards, or he catch a slant, and zoom, he's gone for 70 yards. But now he's able to stick his foot in the ground. He's got a variety of routes he can run. He would be one guy that would jump out to me right now in that conversation. I'm probably missing a bunch of others and choking under the pressure here, but those are certainly ones that jump out to me. Hey, I'll give you two more. The two Georgia Tech receivers, Calvin Johnson and Demaryius Thomas. I just saw Pete Demolitis put out Demaryius Thomas, and he was right. And that made me think of Calvin Johnson. Though they didn't have to run any routes in college. I mean, Georgia Tech was running the wishbone. So they had no route tree. Oh, wait, that's right. They're freaky athletes, and they learned how to run routes. That's why I'm telling you, I think the whole route tree, route running thing is a hair overhyped with certain guys.
Yeah, you have to look, and you taught me this in studio when we were doing this podcast in studio. It was one of the times we stood up, which is always exciting to me when we stand up and they have to move the jib and Annie runs back there. I can't wait to get back to that. But you're looking for more the physical ability in the hips. Are the hips fluid enough to make those moves that are deceiving to the defensive back? That's probably what you're looking at more than just the all and out. Oh, did he run 5 and then straight to the left? You're looking at the physical ability of maybe the hips.
Yes, you do. It's a great point by you, and I'm glad you brought it up because yes, those are the little physical things that I've been taught by some great people I've been around, whether that's Kyle Shanahan or Ike Hilliard or Keenan McCardle in my days of playing, or Chad O'Shea up with the New England Patriots, who's the wide receiver coach. Yes, you have to check out the gait and the hips to go. Can he hit the white line at 10 yards and get his hips to flip and turn and act like he's going to make a right turn, but then he makes a left turn because he's got that flexibility and the ability to separate the upper half from the lower half. Very important aspect of a wide receiver. If you can't do that, then you better be physically freaky fast or big and strong, or you're going to be a guy that, has to run straight and then break down and then make a right turn and then restart your running. And those could be what it could be a negative about the tight hips is to what you're saying.
Player evaluation, something you did in your brief time with the Patriots. And this question comes from Coach Gray. You talked about this a little bit, I believe, yesterday with Mike. Do you think Steve Belichick or Josh McDaniels will be the guy to replace Bill in New England when that time comes? So you discussed it, but let me put you on the spot. if you had to pick right now, who do you think is more likely to replace Bill Belichick, his son or Josh McDaniels?
I think his son right now. I think that would be the one I'd go with. Yeah, I just feel like that pendulum swang a little that way with articles being written by him about Stephen Belichick last year. And again, I have no inside knowledge here. Of course, nobody's going to have inside knowledge of this. This would be a Mr. Kraft, Bill Belichick conversation. But I do think, yes, if you made me pick one right now, I think it would be Stephen Belichick. I also think that's, I'm connecting dots here, but I think that's a reason you saw Josh McDaniels again wanted to get interviewed as a head coach, because I'm betting he saw a little bit of the writing on the wall there. And then Belichick made a statement, a week or two ago in the news to talk about, the nepotism and his son working in the program and all that. So, I think right now, the way I look at it, I would put Stephen Belichick in the lead horse position over Josh McDaniels.
Yeah.
I'm very interested to know what the relationship is right now between Josh and Bill Belichick. That would be something I would really like to know, because just from the outside looking in, I know you and I talked about it. It seems like Bill kind of screwed Josh over with the coaching search this year, and I would imagine that wouldn't sit well with Josh McDaniels.
And if I was Steve and you brought this up too, I don't know that I'd want to follow my dad.
I know.
In New England. I would want to kind of write my own history with another team, but who knows what his motivations are.
I think that's a great point, though, dude. Right? Like I think at some point, if I'm Steven and I want to further my career, I would want to go somewhere else and become the D coordinator to prove to the world, hey, it's not my dad. I don't need him. Blah 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 blah. Just to silence that aspect of it, to justify him one day being more of a head coach. I think you're right. You're spot on there.
We've got quarterback talk, a section on that, some questions from the homies. But first, I want to go to hygiene, because there are a lot of questions on hygiene. We've created a ruckus with some of the showering habits that we've had and whatnot. This one comes from Fuzi's dad. Said, what are Ahmed's top 3 hair products? My hair is always impeccable. It's always well done. I take a lot of time with it. Actually, I just do the messy look most of the time. But hold on. I wrote down my top 3 go-to hair products. And I'm getting paid no money by any of these companies. Axe Messy Look Flexible Paste. So like the Axe hair gel is one of them that I used for a long time, Chris. And then I went to Temple Smoke Styling Balm from Beard Brand. But both of those have, the one thing they have in common is they don't have the wet look. And you go more of a wet look guy, and I go more of a dry that's still with a firm hold. Like, look at this. If you're watching on YouTube right now, I'm pushing my hair down. It is bouncing right back. It is coming right back. So it's a firm hold, but it doesn't have the wet look like Chris that you are more accustomed to go with.
Yes, I never used to do. I literally, not until last year, had gone basically 20-something years without putting a comb in my hair. Like, not one time ever. Like, I would get out of the shower and just move my hair with my hands and go, okay, let's go and start the day. But when you're a talking head on TV and your face is centered up in a HD camera all day long, you start to reconsider those type of things. And then I got to the slick look, and I'm a pomade guy all the way. I use pomade. Ooh. And it's hold on. Danielle, what's the name of my pomade? Way? It's OEUIE or something like that. How do you say it? Way, but it starts with an O. It's a Frenchy. Oh. It's a fancy French word. Okay, that's what I use, and I'm a big believer in it. I actually like it very, very much, because you can go the dry look or the slick wet look if you want with pomade. It's very versatile.
Now, on the hair topic, I know you're a big haircut guy, Chris. What are you doing here? Oh, what are you gonna? You get haircuts once every 2 weeks, I think you told me.
Yeah.
I mean, this is gonna be a while.
Yeah, I'm going into at least 3 weeks since my last haircut. And I had this conversation with my wife last night, talking about, like, man, what do I do? Do we try to get like our hair cutter salon guy over here at the house? And we kind of were like, nah, that's just too risky. We don't know where he's been. And, you want to go to the salon, but no, I guess I'm just going to have to deal with it and let it grow out right now. I got no choice.
No, let Danielle do it. No, you've probably got clippers. Let her do it.
Yeah, no thanks. My wife thinks she can cut hair. Okay, she's done it to my son a few times and things like that. And I can tell you, he ain't letting her cut his hair anymore. So she's got strengths in life. I'm not letting her touch my hair. Sorry.
We'll talk in a month, and we'll see where you're at. You might get to the point where you break and you go, you know what? It's whatever. I don't want to have the hair that I have right now. So as bad as it's going to be, I'm gonna go with it. One more about hygiene here. This one comes from Garnett West. Do you brush your teeth after every meal? What is your teeth brushing routine?
No, I do not brush it after every meal. When I wake up in the morning,
Yep.
okay, I wear a mouthpiece to bed because I grind my teeth.
Ooh, teeth
So
grinder. I,
it,
I I do that
I'm
too. I don't have a
yeah, I'm
mouthpiece,
a
but I'm a
teeth.
teeth grinder.
I did. I had to start doing it really just in the last few months because like I was waking up and I was like, man, my teeth are sore, and it hurts. So I started wearing the mouthpiece, but I brush my teeth while I'm in the shower. I'm a brush your teeth in the shower guy in the morning and at nighttime. Every now and then I'll get a midday. Like let's say if I got a workout in the middle of the day and now I'm taking a shower, I might go, oh, I drank a lot of coffee this morning. Let me brush my teeth just a little bit here to get that off. So I'm typically a two times a day type guy.
I'm a morning brusher. I brush after I get out of the shower. Not in the
Right?
shower, but after the shower. And then I'm not typically a night brusher. I'm usually a once a day guy. So there's a
What?
lot of things about I'm a once a day guy usually.
I would
And
have
I've never had a
you
cavity. I've never had a cavity in my
what?
life.
Are
Yep,
your
I've
teeth
never had one.
real?
They're real. I've had braces, but
Wow.
no other
That's
work
gross
on my
that you don't
teeth.
brush your teeth at night. That's gross. I mean, it's gross, okay?
So I've had a
Um,
couple of things come out, my showering and my teeth brushing, that have not put my hygiene in a good light. I'll be honest with you.
No, and you need to add the brushing your teeth in the shower. It's great. I'm telling you,
I might.
saves a few minutes. It's a good one. It's one of my favorites. I do it, like I said, in the morning and at nighttime.
I will consider that. That does sound like it's a good way to save time. All right, let's get off hygiene before I embarrass myself even more. I don't know why I shared that. I should have just said I'd
Well,
brush two
nobody
times. Like, what's
nobody
the harm in
wanted to
that?
know about my wife's BO or anything like that. There was nothing about that.
No, I think there was, but Pete didn't put it down here. He's protecting not only you but your wife by not putting that in this spreadsheet.
She's my wife. I'll do what I please with her. Okay, all right. I
All right,
mean,
what
within
else do you want to get
reason. I'm
off your
not going
chest?
to
What else
force
do you
her to
want to
do
get off your
anything. All right.
chest?
But I
What
like
else do
her
you want to get off your
BO.
chest?
Yeah, I like her BO. That's all there is to it. It does. It turns me on. It makes me so horny.
Okay, I think you are the only one that wants to talk about it. She doesn't want you to talk about it. Pete didn't want you to talk about it. The homies had reacted. They didn't want to hear about it, but
All right.
it
Well,
is
they
your
heard about it.
podcast, so
That's
you
all
can
they can
you
do.
can do whatever you want. Quarterback talk. Let's do that for a second.
Yeah.
Matt Sunflower wrote in, do you have any expectations for Gardner Minshew this year? So he was a surprise last year, was not really on our radar. I was looking up his numbers. He was the sixth round pick uh, out of Washington State. Oh, Tom Brady was a sixth round pick, so I guess he's going to win 6 Super Bowls now. Played 14
Yeah.
games last year. Had 6 games, Chris, I was looking up, with a quarterback rating above 100, including 2 of the last 3. So he ended strong. 21 touchdowns, 6 interceptions on a team that didn't have a ton of great teammates around him. He was pretty good last year. Do you think he can get even better? Can he build on that?
I do think he can build on that. I think the jury's still out, at least for me, to say whether he's the bona fide future for the Jacksonville Jaguars. I think there's a lot of positives there, no doubt about it. I think he could do every bit as much as like Nick Foles could have done there. And I think that's ultimately probably why they moved on. They just went, man, we saw these guys in practice every day. There was really no difference. In fact, Gardner Minshew might be able to make more with less at times with his ability to scramble and extend plays compared to Nick Foles. And then they were probably like, well, why are we paying $20 million a year for Nick Foles? Okay, let's get done with that. Now, yeah, I do think he can improve. Obviously, hey, they need a better offensive line down there. You mentioned some of their weapons. I think their weapons are kind of flying under the radar a little bit. I do. I think, guys like D.D. Westbrook and DJ Shark are very, very talented. Um, but I will say this too, Ahmed. They're one of the teams I look at right now and go, man, that they're sitting there at pick number 20. Will they take a quarterback at number 20? If Tua was there at 20, would they take him? Will they take Jordan Love at 20? So I still think there's a chance that they could be one of those teams that thinks about making a quarterback move at that point in the draft because they're in a rebuild mode right now. They are.
Yeah.
They've disbanded that team that went to the AFC Championship for a few years ago. They blew it. They went with Blake Bortles and the worst number 3 pick in the history of football, and they blew their chance to win a Super Bowl. And now they got to rebuild. And I'll be interested to see what they do. I like Gardner Minshew. I'm not sold on him yet.
JC wrote in, where would you rank Dak Prescott among today's quarterbacks? I like him a lot, but feel he might be asking for too much. So that's a big story in the NFL right now. Dak Prescott and the Cowboys still trying to hammer out their long-term deal. It's probably going to happen, but didn't happen in time before the franchise tag had to be decided. They slapped that on him, but it seems likely they'll get a deal done at some point. But how good is he? I mean, where would you rank him among – you're obviously going to come out with your top 40 quarterbacks a little bit later on, but where do you think the range he sits in right now?
I think there's no doubt that he's a top 10 quarterback for me. Now, I don't think he's like in the top 5, and I'm not putting him in that conversation. I think the top 5 is like pretty damn special right now for my money. When you go Mahomes, Russell Wilson, or Deshaun Watson, I mean, I'm torn between who I would make 2 or 3 there. And then, okay, number 4 would be Aaron Rodgers, and number 5 would be Lamar Jackson for me right off the bat. Those are my top 5. So, and nobody's infiltrating that at this point. There's no way. Now, I think they kind of stand alone. But, after that, you start getting into the conversation, I think you could make a case from him anywhere from 6 to 10. I think, as I sit here, and I wasn't expecting this, but okay, as I look and go, all right, hey, let's look at it this way. I pulled up the teams. Okay. You look at the AFC East right now. I'm going to take them over everybody in the AFC East, right? I'm everybody over in the AFC East. All right, AFC North. Right now, I'm taking him over everybody in the AFC North except for Lamar Jackson. Okay, I am. I mean, I know Big Ben's there, but he's coming off an arm injury, and he's been out, and he's getting old. So I don't know what to tell you there. Okay, now let's go to the AFC South. I'm taking him over everybody there except for Deshaun Watson. All right, so there's that. Now we get into the AFC West. I'm taking him over everybody there except for Patrick Mahomes, right? Now, NFC East, okay, I look at that. He's better than the Giants and the Redskins at this point. I think Daniel Jones has a lot of potential. Him and Carson Wentz, I think, are very close to being the similar player. I'm not going to say he's better than Carson Wentz. I think they're very close. I think Wentz is in that 6 to 10 category for me too. Minnesota, I go to the NFC North, and I go, he's better than everybody. I mean, he's better than Kirk Cousins to me. He's better than anybody the Bears have. And I already mentioned he's not as good as Rodgers. All right. And then if I look at Detroit, a healthy Matt Stafford is every bit in that conversation. He's in the conversation. Yeah. Stafford would probably be somewhere between 6 and 10 for me as well. All right. And then you get into the NFC South. I'm taking him over everybody in the NFC South right now. Everybody. Maybe Matt Ryan could be in that combo a little, but I think I would take him over everybody. Yes, I know Drew Brees and Tom Brady are there, but at this point of his career, he is better than them. He makes more plays than them. And then you go out west, and I'm only Russell Wilson. So I don't know where that ended up being, but yeah, I think I'm right. It's somewhere between 6 and 10, right? 6, 7, 8, somewhere in that range. Sorry to be so long there, but sometimes I got to pull up the teams and look.
I feel like you just worked ahead. You just did your top 40 ranking right there in the matter of 30 minutes. So you're done. All your prep for that is completed. Mason Fletcher writes in one more quarterback question. What do the Bengals do with Andy Dalton? If they're looking to move him, what should they be asking for? So Andy Dalton was a player we talked about when we were back in the studio. You thought a good destination for him would be the Chicago Bears. And I agreed with you. I thought that was a really good landing spot for him. But right now he's still with Cincinnati. It's good. It's turning into a Cam Newton with Carolina situation where they're probably just going to have to cut ties with him. They've been, I'd imagine, trying to trade him up to this point and not been able to do that. And so they're going to have to cut ties with him, which will be rough for Andy Dalton because all the spots are basically taken up.
It is. I mean, I don't know if there's a lot of spots for him. You're right. First off, I will say this. Yeah, they don't have to cut him. They don't. Just because he's not making huge money. And if they took Joe Burrow at the first pick of the draft, they're going to come up to pretty much average quarterback starting money in the NFL with the combination of both of them. So I guess they don't have to. They could do one of those things where, we just saw with, Daniel Jones and Eli Manning, where they just go, hey, we'll let you compete or whatever, but Joe Burrow's a starter and you're going to be the backup, right?
Would that depend on how Andy sees himself right now? Because if Andy
I
Dalton is
think
dead
so.
set on, I think I'm good enough to be a starting quarterback somewhere, and if you don't think it's here in Cincinnati, and if you're going to take Joe Burrow and go with him week 1, I want out. Would that have a lot to do with how Andy Dalton sees himself right now?
I, I would think so. Yeah, I do. He's got to be careful here. Like you said, there's not a lot of open chairs right now for starting
Yeah.
quarterback. So, could be one of those things where the Bengals wait till training camp and, maybe the Jacksonville Jaguars are going, man, Gardner Minshew's played horrible the first 2 preseason games. We need to get somebody in here that we can trust a little bit. Maybe they make a move and trade for him or do something, if an injury happens. But I would more be of the lines of, if I'm a Super Bowl caliber team and I view myself that way, you know, for the right price, you might want to make a trade for Andy Dalton if you feel like you can get him for a mid-round draft pick or something like that to protect yourself. I do think that. I mean, again, the New Orleans Saints were almost the number 2 seed in the NFC playoffs because of they got Teddy Bridgewater as a backup. That was a
Yeah.
big time move by them. Do you really want to risk your whole season if one guy goes down and now you have an inadequate backup? So, the Philadelphia Eagles, they'd be a team where I'd go, man, Carson Wentz has got an injury history. We know that. If Andy Dalton was made available for a 4th-round pick, I might think about, you know what? Let's bring Andy in. If Carson gets hurt, now our team's okay and we won't fall apart. There's a few teams like that I look at that could use Andy in that manner. Maybe even the New Orleans Saints again. That would be a good spot for him to go. I don't know how they're going to do it this year. I mean, if they're going to still use Taysom Hill as the jack of all trades quarterback, right, who's going to run the ball and play receiver and all that, then you need a legitimate backup too. Because Taysom Hill, one of these times, could run the ball and hurt his shoulder, and then the next week he can't be your backup quarterback. So you need a traditional backup too, I think, if you're the Saints as well. So, I think there's spots, but I don't envision it being a starting spot this year.
Some questions on football history. These are 2 really interesting ones. This first one comes from Sean Bodhane. He said, you said Tyreek Hill and Deion Sanders are the fastest players you've seen on the football field. Where does Darrell Green stack up on that list? So is that true? Do you think Hill and Deion were the 2 fastest players that you've ever seen in the NFL? And if that is true, how come you don't have Darrell Green in there, who a lot of people do think might have been faster than both those guys?
Well, he's right there in the combo. I didn't mean to disrespect Darrell Green. I mean, I think he is right there. There's no doubt. I mean, if you go back and look at like highlights of Darrell Green running down Eric Dickerson or other people, and hey, my dad would certainly tell you that Darrell Green's one of the best players he ever played against. They had to come up. They had to come up with the triple move, the New York Giants against Darrell Green, because the double move, he was so fast, he would cover that too, right? They would run a slant and go, and he might bite on the slant, but he was so fast to recover that the guy was never open on the go either. So they started to run the slant, go, and then the comeback off of it. The Giants really invented that route. The New England Patriots still run it and do it too. But yes, he is right there in that conversation for sure. After that, Willie Gault in his prime, Bo Jackson in his prime.
Bo
I
Jackson.
feel like
I read up on Bo Jackson. Did you know that it's been reported, and he said it as well, that in 1986 at the combine he ran a 4.13 40-yard dash?
I know, yeah, I know that. I know. I mean, that's what anybody will tell you that was around at that time. Old scouts, anything like that. Now that's before lasers and everything like that. But no matter what, yes, 4.1. Joey Galloway
That's
would be in the
crazy.
conversation for one of the fastest player ever. Joey Galloway ran a 4.1 at the combine, Ahmed.
Wow.
I played with Joey. Joey was the fastest guy I ever played with. I played with CJ 2K as well. He could fly. But Joey
Yeah.
Galloway to me would be another guy that would be in that race with the guys we mentioned before, along with CJ 2K. Those are guys to me, Ahmed, that if at the age of 15 they decide I want to win the gold medal in the 100-meter dash, that they would have been neck and neck with whoever it is fighting for a medal in they're world-class speed, those people. They really are. They're the twitchiest, most explosive people, you could find on planet Earth. And honestly, Randy Moss probably deserves to be in that conversation as well.
Wow. Dietrich Truth says, does a healthy Peyton Manning win more rings than Tom Brady if Peyton is a Patriot from 2001 to 2019? Oh, so if Peyton Manning is in the same spot that Tom Brady was, does he win 6 titles in those 9 Super Bowls, or do they get to the 9 Super Bowls? How is the world different? How many does Peyton win in that situation, you think?
Yeah, this is a great question. This is great
It
debate.
is.
This is the kind of shit I would bring into the locker room in my playing days and start a locker room fight and conversation about this kind of crap right here. All right, I will say this. All right, so I think in their absolute prime, Peyton Manning was better than Tom Brady. I do. As an overall player, if you had to take like their top 8 or 9 years, I would take Peyton Manning. But I don't know if Manning could have done what Brady has done late in his career. Manning's physical ability and his arm strength really fell off towards the end. I mean, really fell off. It was a wet noodle. It was one of the weakest arms in football. And that really led to his demise, where Brady, because of his great arm, it's an all-time great arm. Again, I don't think people really realize this about Tom Brady. No, it's not Aaron Rodgers or Brett Favre or Dan Marino or Patrick Mahomes. But it's like in that next class of great arms in the history of football, for my money, Tom Brady's in that next group. And that's where I think it's a little different. So that is a really good conversation. I don't know. I don't know if it necessarily. Maybe I'm trying to think.
Well, you have the situation too of you have like the butterfly effect. You do one small
I
thing and
know,
it
right?
changes the thing after that, and then it's a whole domino effect. And
I'm
who
trying
knows?
not to do that. Right.
Peyton is a more hands-on quarterback, right? I mean, it was his system. He had more of a say. Tom Brady will basically run the game plan. I'm sure he has input as well, but they're just different in that respect. And I'm not saying one's better or worse, but if Peyton totally changes what they do offensively, who knows? It might work out
I
totally
know. You're
different
right.
and maybe worse because of that.
Well, if Peyton was drafted by Bill Belichick, he would have never become Peyton Manning as we know it, the sheriff who does everything like that. When you play for Bill
Sure.
Belichick, he might respect you and go, okay, what do you think? What do you like? Tell me this, blah, blah, blah. But you're ultimately going to be the soldier that listens to Bill Belichick because he's going to tell you the right way to win that football game. So, they're a little different in their styles. You got to remember, Brady was brought in. He got a chance to, I don't want to see be a game manager, but early on with New England, they ran the ball, they played defense, and then Brady made clutch throws throughout the game. Peyton Manning from day one was like, hey, Peyton, we drafted you number 1, and you need to carry the team right away. And if you don't throw for 350 yards and 4 touchdowns, we can't win the game. And that's what was expected for Peyton Manning from the get-go. So he had to take things into his own hands, and they gave him the freedom to do certain things. So, hey, could Bill Belichick and Peyton Manning exist, right? I do. Now, they became really, really good friends the last few years of Peyton Manning's career. I've had people tell me, Peyton Manning and Bill Belichick used to go out to dinner at every Pro Bowl and do things like that where they would just hang out together, right? Because Belichick recognized the greatness of Peyton, his brain power, the things he did at the line of scrimmage, the recognition he had of Belichick's defense, and then he would change the play. So I almost feel like Belichick looked at Peyton as like a mind equal as far as X's and O's that way. But I don't know if I can necessarily sit here and say that Peyton Manning would have won more rings than Tom Brady, because this late push by Brady was really, really impressive. Again, Brady was better in 14, 15, 16, and 17 than he was in 2009, 10, 11, 12, and 13. I just remind everybody, they didn't draft Jimmy Garoppolo in 2014 because they thought Brady had 5 more years of greatness in him. They drafted Jimmy Garoppolo in the second round of 2014 because they said, man, the last 3 years with Tom Brady have not been very good. We need to start thinking of the future. They were winning games, and that's why there wasn't a spotlight shed on it. But, yeah, I don't know if I could sit here and necessarily say that.
Here's a few where people wanted us to make the choice, choose your own adventure right here. And this one comes from Sheldon, and he says, Simms and Ahmed, if you were playing quarterback right now, I'm glad he put me in the NFL too. I love that. If you were playing quarterback right now, which two receivers would you like to have on your team the most? So I'll go first here, Chris. And I was looking through. And basically for me, I didn't have a very strong arm. I did play high school football. I was the quarterback. It was a wing tee offense, not a whole lot of throwing downfield, but we did some short timing routes. I could throw maybe in my prime 45 yards downfield with the wind at my back. But
Maybe.
I would
We need to put that to
maybe.
the test. I got to see that.
I honestly think I could still do it. I think I could do it. 45 yards, I think I could still do, but that's for another time. I can't leave my house right now. The receivers that I would choose, Chris, and I went because I was thinking like, okay, what would I need if I was for some weird reason? It's like in hockey, they have the emergency goalie who's just some dude that drives the Zamboni. So say the NFL for
Right.
some reason they needed me as quarterback. Who would I need? I was like, I need receivers that can just like go get it. If it's a terrible throw or if I've thrown it in completely the wrong spot, they can adjust and make that play. And the two that jumped into my mind first were Julio Jones. I would just throw it up to him and hope that he could come down with it one-on-one. And DeAndre Hopkins. I feel like he is a adjust to the bad throw kind of player. Not that he gets a ton of them from Deshaun, but I've just seen him do that enough where I'm like, okay,
Definitely.
there's my two security blankets, Julio and DeAndre.
That's a strong tandem. I'm with you there. I mean, it's tough to argue that. I mean, those are certainly two guys that are in the conversation right away as you talk about it with me. I also throw in, Mike Evans in Tampa along those same lines. Michael
Yeah.
Thomas, of course. Odell Beckham Jr. is in the conversation. A healthy Odell Beckham Jr. is still one of the greatest receivers I've ever seen in my life. And then Tyreek Hill too.
Yeah, that's
I'm
what I was going
I'm
to
a,
say. Like
I'm
you're a pro quarterback. You were, and so like you probably could utilize the quick, short, fast guys way more than
I would
the
like to
average
think I
Joe.
could. I would like to think I could. I would like to think if you gave me, I would probably pick Tyreek and Odell because I would like to think that, hey, no matter what, we're going to threaten people with the go route, and it's going to leave a lot of other routes wide open because people are going to be shit scared that even me at 39, I can still throw at 60 yards where they're going to be scared. They're going to go, oh damn, Chris can launch this, and that's going to open up slants and out routes and things like that. So I think that's probably where I would go. Tyreek and a healthy OBJ would probably be my two. I'm a sucker for speed. I really am.
Yeah,
Your guys are the next group down. Like I said, Hopkins, Michael Thomas, Mike Evans, and Julio, I think, are the next ones for me.
Pete just texted us. He goes, Ahmed should have taken Allen Robinson because he is used to bad quarterbacks with Bortles and
Oh, boy,
Trubisky
he's
and
bored. Yeah,
yeah.
he's had his work cut out for him for sure.
And then he goes, Ahmed, you're not much worse than those guys. Wow, huge compliment coming from producer Pete listening in at home. We also
Huge.
want to give a shout out to Nicole, who's punching the buttons in studio there in
What up,
Stanford, keeping this
Nicole?
whole
Yeah,
thing
Nicole.
together. This one comes from Karen or Karan. If you and Ahmed had to choose only one movie to watch over and over again right now, what would it be? And now, Chris, I don't know if you know this about me. I'm not a big movie guy.
Oh
I have not
no.
seen a whole lot of lot of movies in my life, but I do have one that has always been my favorite. It's always been number one, and yeah, we're living it right now. Groundhog's Day has always been my favorite movie of all time with Bill Murray and Ned Ryerson. So I don't know though if I would want to watch that right now, given our current situation, because it honestly feels like we are living in that movie right now.
Yeah, you're yes. And Groundhog Day is one of those movies because it went through a stint where it was on the movie channels like all the time, where I think you'd get sick of it, like the 20th day in a row.
Yes,
You know,
yeah.
I
Well,
think
what
I
movie
think you
wouldn't you
would.
get sick of?
I mean, you're right. Most of them you're going to get sick of. That's to me where I go into like the deeper, longer movies where, you learn something new every time, where you're like, oh man, I didn't realize that's what he meant. And that's where I get into The Godfather. And that's where you need to see The Godfather 1 and 2. They're only
Yeah.
considered the greatest movies in the history of life. Okay? Go watch The Godfather. You're in Groundhog Day. Change it up.
Yeah.
Go watch Michael
Yeah.
Corleone and Don Corleone. Watch that story. It's awesome, Ahmed. Awesome. Also, Braveheart's
Yeah.
another
But
one I love. Now,
which one?
Mel Gibson might be an asshole, but I like Braveheart a lot. All right. Braveheart's another one. It's a real story. There's a lot of depth to it. There's love.
Yeah.
There's war. There's connivery. Is that a word? Connivery?
Yeah,
Conniving?
there's
I don't know.
connivery in there. But
There
we've
is there?
talked about
Okay,
this
good.
before. We've talked about this before because this happened to me a couple of years ago where I had never seen Caddyshack before, and clearly one of the classic movies of all time. But watching it for the first time, and I think I watched it in 2018, watching it for the first time in 2018, it doesn't have the same charm or effect as it would have watching it for the first time and whenever it came out, 1970. I don't even know when it came out. And I worried about movies like, even though they're classics, if I'm going to watch these movies for the first time in 2020, I'm worried that I'll not appreciate them the way that I would have.
You will.
Ago.
The Godfather stands the test of time. Again, comedy in 1970s different than comedy in 2018. I don't know. The mafia ain't any different. Guns and cool suits and stealing money that never gets old. So, and it's a real story. So, to me, I'm telling you, you need to do this. Come on, man, do it.
Okay.
Watch
What if I do it
Godfather
and I
1
do
and
it and
2.
I do
Don't
a
worry about number
review?
3. Okay.
All right.
I'll take
I'll
it.
do that.
I'll take it. Yep.
I'll do it, and we'll do
You're
a
not
review
going
on
to
the
do
next
it. You're
pod.
full of shit. You're not
Probably
going to do
won't.
shit.
How do you find? Where are they even? Where do you get them even now? Can you just order them?
Do you have
on
Apple
your cable?
TV? I mean, I'm sure there's somewhere. I mean,
Okay.
I'm sure
I'm
you
trying
could
to
buy
find
it on
them.
Apple TV somewhere. Yeah, I think you'll manage.
Literally
Okay?
nothing but time right now, and so I will try to find them. This one comes from Orion Chesluit. Says, if either of you could have the physical abilities of any athlete in their prime for a day, whose would they be and why? So you get the physical abilities of any player, and while you think, I'll go through my my thought process on it. So at first, because I just told you I only could throw it 45 yards in my prime, I was like, man, I want Elway's arm. I want to have the ability. But then I was like, you know what? I can kind of replicate that with a Nerf ball, which kind of gives the same effect. And so I was like, you know what? Okay. And then I was like, oh, what about being able to dunk and jump like Randy Moss or something like that? And then I was like, well, but I can dunk like if I lower the rim to 8 feet. And is it really that much different of a feeling? So I scratched that one. And I finally went for like the opportunist angle. And I went, give me the leg of Justin Tucker for a day. And on that day, I would enter a contest where, like, for kicking a 50-yard field goal, you could win a car or free college or something like that. So that's what I would choose. I would choose Justin Tucker's leg on a day where I could win something by kicking a long field goal. That's my answer.
Well, so when is that? When does that day happen ever? I know you got to tell me.
I've heard of stuff like that before. I don't know. Like, you haven't you heard of that? Like the Dr. Pepper
I've
challenge,
heard of like the half court shot. I haven't heard of like make the 50-yard field goal for a car. I'm sorry. You're going with a kicker's leg as your superpower athlete pick? No,
I gave you my answer. Answer. Well, what do you pick?
I know. All right. I had some of the same thoughts you did. Okay. I think the first thing I thought of was a little bit of, I thought of Michael Jordan, LeBron James, Muhammad Ali. I thought of Deion Sanders. Like, what does it feel like to be able to run like that in like the game of like the fastest people on the planet where they're like children next to you when you run? I thought of that. I think ultimately though, I would probably have to go with like, I think I'm going to go with Michael Jordan. I am. Even though you're right, like you can lower a hoop to 8 feet and dunk and do all that, man, to be able to soar in the air for like seconds and dunk on 7-foot people and shoot fadeaway jumpers when people are all over you, yet you have enough vertical, it doesn't really matter. I'm going to just shoot over you and hit a fadeaway J. Like, to me, that is like, I would love to, what does it feel like to just glide through the air and be like, boom, and bah. So that I think is the one I would probably look at. I thought of baseball. Anybody in baseball?
Pete texted in. He goes, why wouldn't you want to hit a home run like Babe Ruth? That would be pretty cool. But again,
it would be.
You could replicate that with a golf ball, and I could hit a golf ball with a baseball bat probably 600 feet. And so it'd be kind of similar.
Yes, but not really. Not like hitting it in Yankee Stadium and all that.
That's
But
true.
yeah, Babe Ruth is probably the first name that came up. Willie Mays was a little bit of my thought process there. Who's the best home run hitter in baseball right now? Giancarlo Stanton, Aaron Judge.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I'm
Yeah.
I'm still gonna stay with Jordan. I'm going Jordan. You go with your Tucker. I'll go
I
with
go with
Jordan.
Tucker. I wait for the day when you can win a house by kicking a 50-yard field goal, and then I become Justin Tucker for that one day.
And you'd be able to
Let's
sing. He's
see.
got that opera voice.
Oh yeah, that's true. I get all of his abilities. I would be able to
All of it.
sing and kick, and it would be a great day. I would be a completely different person for a day. Let's go. This one comes from NFL Latino. He says, "Do you agree that Aaron Donald and Chandler Jones would be the number 1 and 2 seeds in an NFL bar fight tournament? Donald is built like a Greek god, and Jones is John Bones Jones' little brother. So would they be the
Valid
number 1
point.
and 2 seeds?"
Woo, that is tough. I mean, it is crazy that like John Bone Jones is like the third strongest in his own family, right?
I know.
I mean,
Right?
Arthur Jones, his brother, and Chandler have both told me how they used to whoop on John. They used to whoop John in the living room when they had fights and wrestling. So that's just crazy to think like, damn, you're the world champion in the UFC, and your two brothers used to beat your ass in the living room. Um, he would be up there. Aaron Donald, of course, would be up there too. I'm just trying to think like Calais
Well,
Campbell's got to be in that conversation.
yeah.
Fletcher Cox needs to be in that conversation. Chris Jones needs to be in that conversation. Trent Brown needs to be in that conversation. And Khalil Mack need to be in that conversation. So those are some guys that jump out to me right there. I think if you
So
gave
pick
me
two.
any
So I'm
yeah,
saying, like, picture this. You're right now. You're standing outside of a bar. You're about to walk in. You know there's going to be a
right.
fight, and you have to
Yeah.
pick the two people who are on your right and left. Who are you picking?
I'm going with Aaron Donald and Fletcher Cox. Nobody's gonna with me when they see them. I mean, one thing they're gonna see this dense muscle guy that's 6'1" and 285 with like pectoral muscles that are the size of my head, and then they're gonna see this giant Fletcher Cox who's just a giant man, and then he's really athletic too. So I would go with those two. They would be my bodyguards, and nobody would mess with me if I had them next to me.
So I went a little different. I
Don't
assumed the
tell me you
fight
went
was
Justin Tucker again here.
yeah, and he would just sing, and it would be so beautiful that people would
He'll
all the
kick
anger would
you
leave
in
their
the
body.
balls and you'll be done.
I went a little different because I assume the fight's already happening, and I want someone who maybe is a little dirtier and has a little bit of an edge. I went with Vontez Burfict and Dominican Sue. If things are gonna get weird, you gotta go. You gotta go weird, and I think that there's no limit with those guys.
You're right. That's a valid point. You're right. Hey, when you're in a fight, you don't want anybody that's like following rules. Like Richie Incognito, he'd probably be in that conversation too. We forgot about him. But
Correct.
yeah,
There are
when
no
a fight
rules
breaks
in a
out,
bar
there's no
fight.
such thing as a dirty fight, right? There's no such thing. So okay, I hear you. I hear you there.
This one comes from Kidder Lindsay. Who would win in a fight, Tom Brady or Chris Simms? You versus the GOAT.
Yeah, I'd take me. I'm sorry, I don't know. I'm sure Tom would take him too, but I mean, I'm taking me. I got a little
Why?
more meat on my bones, a little more muscle. I'm a little thicker than Tom Brady. Plus, I
You
know
think?
I can lift
Really?
more. I am definitely, yes. Brady's probably like 215, 218. I'm walking around at 232, 234, and I could still move weight. And I know I can move more weight than Tom Brady, so I'm taking me.
His listed weight for Tom Brady, I just did a Google search. It says it's 225 is what he's listed at.
225? Oh, okay. Maybe
Here's
maybe he is.
but
I
here's
I don't think he is that, but go ahead. Yeah, that's all right. Go ahead.
here's my question though. Clearly, I mean, you have the injury of the spleen, and I worry that he would be able to exploit that somehow.
No, I don't know. I played football after it. I got hit there. I was okay. So, I
Okay.
don't know. I mean, maybe he could give me some germs and then I wouldn't be able to fight infection or disease well, but
Yeah.
I don't think it's
Hey,
going to affect me taking a shot. I think I'll be okay.
And Justin Sandhu says, who's a better athlete, Ahmed or Florio? And I don't know about Mike's athletic prowess, but I'll take me. I'll take me.
Oh, me too. I'm taking you too, without a doubt. Yeah, you're definitely a better athlete than Florio. I mean, he's got a nice little motion throwing the football, like it's not bad. But so do you, and you're younger, and you have more of an athletic background. Like that's a no brainer. I'm not going with Brady now. With Florio. Now, if it comes to copy paste, snarky comment, I'm going with Florio all day, but not in an athletics
Yes.
competition against you.
Although I am deteriorating by the day here. A couple from your past here. I love going back into your Chris memories. And this one comes from Rob Rinker. And it's something you kind of alluded to in an earlier question about Chris Johnson and a couple of your former teammates. He said, what would be your dream offense of all the players you got to play with over the years? So pick 2 running backs, 1 tight end, and 2 wide receivers. 2 running backs, 1 tight end, 2 wide receivers. If you could get the crew back together and they're in their prime, or at least I guess when you played with them.
Yeah, right.
Who would they be?
Great question.
So you said Chris Johnson. Would he be one of the 2 running backs?
I think I'd go with Chris Johnson. Yes, there's no doubt. Hey, listen, I did play with Cedric Benson. I did play with Cadillac Williams. They were really freaking good. But Chris Johnson had game-changing speed. I mean, Chris Johnson was one of those guys when, I would hand the ball off to him in practice, I would feel my arm get ripped off because I'd be like, whoa, he's going at a different speed than the other running backs I gave the ball. So Johnson's going to be my tailback. Joey Galloway and Brandon Marshall are going to be my wide receivers. I was with Brandon Marshall in 2009 in Denver. I mean, that's in his prime. Man, that's one of the freakier people I was ever with. And you heard me with Joey Galloway. I think he's one of the fastest guys in the history of the NFL. Tight end is the real interesting one. I played with some decent, played with Daniel Graham in Tennessee. I had, my ex-college teammate, Bo Scaife, who was really talented and banged up. I had Alex Smith in Tampa. I also had Ken Dilger a little bit, who had a real good career with the Colts and everything else. So, man, Anthony Beck? Man, I had some good tight ends now. Now I'm really starting to. Okay, I'm going to go with Algie Crumpler. I played with Algie Crumpler. I think I would go with him. That would be the guy I would pick at tight end. Yes.
It's a pretty good squad right there.
Pretty good squad. We could tear some shit up. Not me. They have better options than me.
Jason Monday wrote in, what's the one throw you wish you could have back? You can take back one throw in your career, but only one. Which one do you pick?
Yeah, there's a lot I'd like to take back. I think the one okay. This is a
thought exercise, which is terrible for anyone. It's like you immediately think of all your worst mistakes.
That's what I'm doing. I'm just going.
Your head.
Which one did I get driven crazy by the most, and which one, is like, which one made me feel the worst? All right, so there's 2 throws.
It's like Ahmed. What are the shows that you wish you could redo? Like, what are your most embarrassing moments on live national television? Go through them all in your head real quick.
Well, and the horrible thing is a lot of the times as an athlete, you remember your worst moments a lot more vividly than you do your good moments. And, I still have times in my life right now where I kick myself for, throwing 3 interceptions in the Big 12 championship game against Colorado my junior year. I mean, I really do, where I just go, man, I can't believe that. What an idiot I am. But my second year, Emmitt Smith's last game, all right, with the Arizona Cardinals, I'm playing for Tampa Bay. I had Ernest Graham open down the left sideline to win the game. I had pressure. I had to throw it a little early. When it left my hand, I thought I was like, oh, that's going to be a touchdown, and I ended up overthrowing him. That one hurts, but I don't think as much as the one in my wild card playoff game against the Washington Redskins. We had a play. I threw a touchdown pass to Adele Shepard. It got called back because of the Calvin Johnson rule, right? I was really the first player and person ever to really be affected by the Calvin Johnson rule. Even though he got it, we just didn't have a notable wide receiver to give it the name. But we had the same thing. A guy catch the ball in the end zone, fall to the ground, 2 knees hit the ground, still has possession, then fell farther, and the ball wiggled loose, and it took away a game-tying touchdown. On the very next play, it was a 4th down, and I had the same guy running out and up down the right sideline, and I think 1, I was juiced up, and 2, he was probably a little tired from running deep the play before, and I overshot him by about a foot or 2, where we could have had a touchdown the very next play. I think that's probably one I look back and go, man, if I hit that, we're going to tie the game. We had all the momentum. I had a hard time thinking we wouldn't have won the game because we had kind of dominated the 2 quarters previous to that.
I felt so bad about asking you that question and making you go down those terrible memories that I had to disconnect my internet. But I'm back, Chris. I've come back for the last question.
Woo!
This one comes from Bacon with Lettuce.
Ooh, I like bacon with lettuce.
He says, visited my parents in Greenwich around November and thought I saw you in Whole Foods. I didn't want to bother you for a pick, so I made the Vikings horn sound to pay tribute. He made that Vikings horn sound to pay tribute to you. Did you hear me? I know a lot of other customers did and were happy to see me leave. So apparently he annoyed some people. Did you hear anyone do the Vikings horn at Whole Foods?
Well, he could have very easily seen me for sure. We're definitely a Whole Foods family. First off, bacon and lettuce. Don't be scared. Don't be a wimp. Come up and say hi to me. You're not going to bother me.
No, not now. No one should come up to anyone right now.
But next time, when life is somewhat normal again, yes, that's what I'm talking about. Yes, thanks for setting me straight. But don't ever feel ashamed about coming up to say hi to me. I welcome it. You know me, and listen, I'm all for it. And that would have been awesome. I don't remember hearing that. That would have stood out to me. The old which I've had a lot of fun with during the football season with Florio. But never, anybody out there, you can always come up to me, say hi, tell me you agree with me, disagree with me. I'm always open for any of that conversation. You might not get the answer you like back, I'll tell you that much, but always feel free to come up to me and say hi to me.
And some of my friends go, "Oh, Ahmed, you probably get that a lot." I go, "No, actually, it never happens to me." So if you do see me out and recognize me from some of the things that we do, please come up to me. It helps my ego, and it just makes me feel like what we're doing is making an impact, which I know it is because there's so many people out there who've written in that they have enjoyed watching Chris, you, and Mike with PFT. That's like 2 hours of normalcy. I'm sure this podcast is that way for me, like I said at the top, and I'm sure a lot of people out there. So again, if you've made it to the end of the podcast here, once again, that means you're a true fan, and reach out, say hi on Twitter or whatever, on Instagram. Chris, I know you're on both, and that was fun. That was another Ask Chris Anything, and you crushed it.
Thanks, man. Well, I wouldn't be able to do it without you. You make it fun, and thank you for organizing all that you organized, first off. But a big shout out to the homies, really. I mean, thank you for the participation, and then, again, nothing's off limits. You know me. Anybody that's listened to me, I'm going to say it how it is. Now, NBC might edit me and cut out some of my answers, but there's no such thing as a bad question or a weird question or whatever it may be. I think we're going to be back doing this same thing next Thursday. So if anybody wants to get weird, get crazy, it's an open book here. It's a tough time for everybody. I know I've been stressed out. I really have. And I'm going to have a nice smoky smoke and a nice drinky drink tonight to take the edge off. I can guarantee that. So you do that too, Ahmed, and get the Godfather and start watching the movies. All right? Let's go.
I don't want to let you down. Thanks to Pete and Nicole as well, throwing this all together. I'm out, Chris.
All right, you the man, Ahmed. Peace out, everybody. Be good. Enjoy the weekend. Stay safe. Social distancing. Let's keep fighting the good fight. See you on Tuesday's podcast. We're going to do pass rushers, top 5 pass rushers, and we'll talk a lot of other football things that are going on in the NFL and draft stuff. So everybody be good. Be safe. Peace.
Yo, what's up? Come on, man. Subscribe on YouTube to Chris Simms Unbuttoned podcast. I need you. Please hit the subscribe button, please.